Hello, welcome to Dangerous Ideas. I'm Lee Camp. Thank you for being here. We've got a big show today. In a half hour, I will be speaking to Julian Casablancas, the lead singer and founder of the Voidz and the Strokes, some bands you might have heard of. He's also just an awesome human being and cares about real shit. The Voidz have a brand new album you should check out. But anyway, I will be talking to him in a half hour. That's 3:30 Eastern, noon 30 Pacific. He should be here. And but before we get to that, I got a lot of other important news for you that I will be covering, such as CNN getting eviscerated on their own airwaves, which is always a good time. But one of the bigger stories is how exactly Israel is spying on you. Yes, you. Literally when you may think you are most secure and not being spied on online. Anyway, all of that and more coming at you today. Thank you for being here, for clicking the thumbs up, for clicking the share, for clicking all the good things, for doing the things. And also throw into the chat, some of you have already been doing it, what you'd like me to ask Julian. I will try to get to at least one or two of your questions for him. And yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Oh, sorry, I forgot to click the old go live on the Instagrams. Okay, here we go. So first thing I'm playing is CNN getting eviscerated over there. Coverage of the genocide in Gaza on their own airwaves. And for those of you listening to the podcast, you won't be able to see this aspect of it. You'll be able to get the gist, but you won't be able to see this aspect of it. Particularly, everyone should enjoy the look on the face of the anchor as this is going on. It's a couple of minutes long, but it's worth every minute of it. But the joy of watching the look on the face of the anchor at CNN as she basically has to sit there and hear what a pile of shit CNN is. And yeah, let's do it. Of course, this is on Instagram, my least favorite of all the platforms. I absolutely abhor, but they take the cake. They take the cake.
It does. What do you think is going to happen with this humanitarian crisis, with the additional factor of Gaza is about to enter the winter, which often brings heavy rain to the region?
Kate, in all honesty, a humanitarian crisis is what you deal with when you have a hurricane, what you deal with when you have an earthquake. You have an insult and a humanitarian response. This is my career. This is what I do for a living. Every single person who does this for a living will tell you the same thing. This is different. This is not a humanitarian crisis. Kate, and I'm going to say it very clearly for your viewers to hear, this is genocide. When 70% of the population that are killed are women and children, when the population is starved of food, of water, of medicine, when you have attacks, repeated attacks on all the hospitals, the clinics, the aid distribution sites, the humanitarian aid agencies that try to help. More UN workers have been killed in Gaza than in UN's history. When you have over 900 families that have been exterminated, that have been taken off of the civil registry, killed. When you have over 17,000 children that have lost one or both parents. When you have bakeries, aid distribution sites, churches, mosques, schools, and in the last 3 days, in the last 24 hours, in fact, a hospital today that was bombed, as you just reported, the hospital where I personally was working, and I can tell you, they are working every second of every day to try and sustain life when Israel's strategy and evidence on the ground suggests that they're doing the exact opposite. They were targeted today. There was a rehabilitation hospital, rehabilitation center that was targeted in the last 24 hours, and there was an orphanage that was targeted earlier this week. These are the types of places that are being targeted. And so it's really hard to hear it over and over and over again, framed in the way that it's being framed in the media, which frankly, Kate, is very misleading. It is very misleading. 365 days of this. Death tolls that are so far outdated. We have no idea how many people are killed, but I am genuinely afraid about what we're going to find out when the dust settles. History books will be written on this, and countries will have to reckon, media agencies will have to reckon with their major role in the genocide of an entire population and in the destruction of humanitarian law.
Where do you think?
Amazing. Amazing. That clip is worth every minute of it. To get all of those points out there on CNN's own airwaves and to obliterate their reason for being. I mean, CNN's the point of CNN in this world, supposedly, if you believe what they say, is to inform viewers. And this doctor who's been in Gaza, who's seen it firsthand, is saying on their own airwaves that you guys are complicit in this. This could not and would not be allowed if you didn't have the propaganda outlets spitting their lies or their lies by omission, which are as important as the straight up lies. And by the way, I consider all the euphemisms that are used, they are lying. When she says, what's it like to have a humanitarian crisis there? That's a form of lying. By choosing to say humanitarian crisis instead of choosing to say genocide, instead of choosing to say ethnic cleansing, instead of choosing to say a massacre, which, by the way, every time you hear them talk about October 7th, what do they call it? They call it a massacre. They call it a massacre. They call it an atrocity. When they talk about Gaza, most of these mainstream networks say humanitarian crisis. They say it's a war. Oh, really? Is it a war against children? Because they seem to be the number one type of person being murdered. Is it a war against women and children? Is it a war against innocent people? Because that's the only way this could be a war. Just totally revolting, of course, to see these lies, this propaganda. But it was wonderful to see this doctor absolutely tear apart CNN's their role in this. Their role in this. Because it's not just that they're, I think, a lot of people say, oh, it's just like they haven't done a good job. No, they've actually done a very good job at what their job is, which is to manufacture consent for war, to manufacture consent for the genocide, to manufacture consent for the U.S. empire to continue marching us off this blindly like zombies off this cliff of humanity where we no longer care at all about international law, about humanitarianism, about innocent people. We no longer care at all about it. That's where they're marching us, and they are complicit. And it was beautiful to see her do such an effective job of saying that clearly on CNN. Some people are asking, why did CNN allow this? Well, I can tell you, when something like this goes on CNN, and I've been in news studios, actually, I've been on CNN once, I've been on Fox News once, I've been on MSNBC once, because that's the number of times they'll have you on before they, if you speak the truth, realize you speak the truth and they don't want you there anymore. And by the way, all those appearances were pre-redacted tonight because now I have such a record that if they look me up, they would not have me on those shows. But anyway, when they have someone like this on, they have her on, they had her on because she is a doctor who's been in Gaza, and they were genuinely looking for a view of what's going on there. What they didn't think she'd do, because very rarely is it done, they didn't think she'd call them complicit. They probably were also hoping she wouldn't use the word genocide, but they certainly didn't think that she was going to say, hey, you guys are a part of this. You guys are helping cause this. And when that happens, they don't cut it off, because here's the thing they've learned. It took them a little while, I think, back in the 60s through the 90s, but they learned that cutting the feed or interrupting and go, oh, we got to go to a break. It felt good at the time, but now that all that stuff goes viral, like if they had cut the feed, it would have gone viral online even more so than it has. So they now let the person finish talking, and then they say, okay, thanks a lot, and then they never invite them back. That's the new procedure. It used to be to cut it off, but now they've realized that actually is worse. Here is hundreds of protesters. This is I think a day ago, hundreds of protesters have blockaded, and I always love to bring to you protesters. I do my best to bring it to you often. Because mainstream media, of course, is not going to cover this 90% of the time, but also because, I talk about the problems. Some of the time I talk about the solutions, which is important, but I also like to talk about all of those, all of us, all of you guys who are in the streets, who are fighting back, who are standing up against this. But also those of you standing up against it online are very important. We all play our role. There are bands that play their role in the information they're getting out. There are, I think, comedians that play their role. I don't know who any of those might be, but I think they might. Thank you, Alex, for calling back to my 2008 appearance. Yes, that's how long it's been on Fox News. The one time I was invited on Fox News, I called them a parade of propaganda and a festival of ignorance. And not only did they never invite me back, which I didn't expect they would, but they also never. They also pretended they pretended they kicked me out of the building. They pretended that I had been physically thrown out of the building, which I had not. I got up at the end of the segment, walked off, and didn't speak to anyone. And that was the end of it. Anyway, thank you for the callback. So here are protesters in New York City in front of the stock market, the stock exchange, which, by the way, is essentially 99.9% done online now. So this whole stock exchange, the actual building, it's kind of like a museum. It's kind of like it is technically where the information is funneled into the computers, I guess, but there's not, like, if you were to go into the stock, there's not, the people there are like props. Like, they're not, they don't matter. It's all done online, but you still have the stock exchange because we need to pretend this is a physical thing. We need to pretend there's something there. It's kind of like America. We need to pretend there's a there. We need to pretend something is actually happening. Hell, 99.9% of all decisions in this country are not made in the White House. And we need to pretend there's a thing that is doing the thing. So same as stock exchange. Anyway, all these protesters showed up outside the stock exchange, shutting it down, as it were. I know we as protesters use that terminology too often. We shut it down. But of course they didn't shut it. The stock exchange kept running, but still, I very much appreciate what these folks were doing. So I'm going to play some of it. Those of you listening to the podcast, just picture a bunch of people. You'll hear there are people outside the stock exchange, stock market.
Oh, Palestine, you are not alone. You are not alone.
The U.S. is currently sending bombs to Israel that it is using to massacre Palestinian families in Gaza and now Lebanese families in Lebanon as well. We felt that it was important to be here today as Jews is because the U.S. government and the Israeli government both are trying to put forward a lie that they are carrying out this genocide in the name of Jewish safety. And that is simply false. And as Jews, we reject that with every fiber of our being.
All right, there it is. That a lot of the people there, not all of them, but a lot of people there were Jewish Voice for Peace, which is a great organization. And you don't have to be Jewish to be in it. But they have done wonderful work in this regard in standing up. And for those of you listening to the podcast, many of them got arrested at the end of it. They had done T-shirts that said "Jews say" and the genocide. I don't know what it is, dude. Something about hearing, especially the song "Palestine, You Are Not Alone," brings fucking tears to my eyes. I don't know why. I don't know why it's just that one, but anyway. Thank you, Teresa, so much for the donation. And Teresa has donated 10 memberships. These are the YouTube memberships, not to be confused with leecamp.net locals memberships. But these are the YouTube memberships. And I'm told, for a while, I thought you got to, it was like first come, first serve. I'm told that YouTube somehow randomly allots them to people. So 10 of you will get randomly allotted memberships to my YouTube channel, which the big perk of that is that you get the live streams whenever you want. My live streams disappear after a little while, unless you are a YouTube member. So thanks so much, Teresa. That's awesome. Really appreciate the solidarity and supporting the show. And let's see. Sorry, I just lost that. Puts the Mouse has donated over on Rumble. Thank you for supporting the show, Puts the Mouse. Really appreciate it. But yes, I love to see the protesters over. This one was at the New York Stock Exchange because obviously this genocide is connected at the hip to U.S. corporate power. If you didn't have the U.S. empire as powerful as it is, if you didn't have U.S. corporations as powerful as it is, if you didn't have inverted totalitarianism in this country ruled by the anonymous corporate state, then this genocide almost definitely would not be happening, or at least would not be happening at this level. And so for anybody thinking, well, why are they trying to stop the stock exchange? Why are they protesting outside the stock exchange? So many of these companies are making unbelievable amounts of money on the genocide as it goes on. The ones who make the weapons, the ones who are connected to the Pentagon, the ones who make the surveillance software. There are so many ways corporations benefit from war, from death, from destruction, from the power of the U.S. empire. And it is beautiful to see these protesters fighting back. Ben A. said in the chat, huge respects for JVP. Rosalind Hernandez said, whatever happened to freedom of speech? I think they ripped it up, I want to say 1837, 6. That was the end of freedom of speech. Frank Esquivel in the chat says, just finished watching you on the JB Font show. It was awesome. Now you have Julian on. Badass Big Strokes fan. Thank you, Frank. Really appreciate that. Yes, I was just on the JB Font show as well. For those of you joining late, Julian Casablancas of the Voidz and the Strokes will be here in 12 minutes, hopefully. He should be on at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Let's keep going, though. We got tons of stuff. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, hit the share, hit all those good things. This is from the BDS movement, again, with the power of protest and how it is having an impact. Breaking, Chevron has, not sure if you heard of them. They're a little company out of, I think, Poughkeepsie. Little baby outlet, but I think they're going to get bigger. They're going to do bigger things soon. Chevron halts major expansion of Israeli claimed, keywords, not Israeli, but Israeli claimed gas fields amid Israel's ongoing genocide against 2.3 million Palestinians. That number has gone down, by the way, in Gaza, and its brutal bombings in Lebanon, Syria, and beyond. Chevron halts major expansion of Israeli claimed gas field. And I've mentioned this a little before, that there have been recently gas fields, recently meaning 10 to 15 years ago, major gas fields discovered off of Gaza in the oceans. And technically that should be Gaza's to own. That should be theirs. But Israel claims that anything beyond a mile outside of Gaza is not Gazan. And so they can steal anything that's beyond a mile. And they won't let anybody from Gaza go beyond a mile. I mean, now it's probably less than that. Now it's probably 12 feet out into the water. But even before October 7th, before a year ago, it was a mile out. They would basically shoot people. But there is tons of oil out there. Technical terminology, a shit ton of oil out there. And it's being claimed by Israel now. And they have signed leases to Chevron to go and steal that oil. And according to this, Chevron has decided not to pursue that right now. Now, I will say, and everybody should know this does not mean Chevron is good people. This does not mean you'd want Chevron at your Thanksgiving dinner or your indigenous people's dinner, per se. This is because they realize that at the current moment, in the midst of a genocide, it doesn't look great to be stealing the oil. So they've decided to back off for right now. I guarantee you that the moment Israel stops the genocide and Chevron thinks that they can go ahead and steal the oil and it won't look that bad for their brand, they'll dive right back in. But for the moment, this is a win for BDS. This is a win for protesters, making it clear to Chevron. And let's not forget, even though it's not connected technically to genocide, but let's not forget climate defiance has interrupted about 12 different Chevron events. By the way, I haven't covered it because it's just too effing annoying, but climate defiance has done the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen from a activist group that's had the success they've had, which is to endorse Kamala Harris. Someone, by the way, the Biden-Harris administration pumped more oil and allowed more drilling and fracking than Trump did. So good job, climate defiance, on backing absolute climate criminals. Here's the thing, though. They didn't need to, I said I wasn't even going to spend time on it. Here I am spending time on it. They didn't need to endorse anyone. They didn't, they gained nothing. They just destroyed their credibility by being like, yeah, we love climate criminals. Now, they gave this long explanation about, we believe it's going to be easier to push Harris. It's just so stupid. It's so stupid. Okay, shit. I got to get this story before Julian comes on. If I have to interrupt this story to bring Julian on, I will do that because I don't want to make you guys wait or make him wait. But anyway, let's get started in this. From Alan McLeod, my old buddy and colleague for a year when I was at Mint Press. Got to be at meetings with Alan McLeod for every week for a year. Great guy. And anyway, he's put out another awesome article. Awesome meaning well done, not awesome meaning great news, about how exactly Israel is spying on you when and if you're using a VPN. For those who don't know, and I know there are some people, the VPN world is not something you're aware of. For those who don't know, VPNs are designed to cover up your ability to surf online and to be anonymous and to be to not have your name and your information attached to your searches and attached to your online life. That is the point. That is like the entire point of VPNs. And yet, many of the biggest ones are connected to Israel, to the IDF, to Israeli spies. Here's some of the article. An estimated 1.6 billion people around the world rely on VPNs to carry out the most sensitive tasks, from watching illegal videos. Yeah, but that's not the real reason. How about you just don't want the government tracking you? He says, or political activities. Yeah, you just don't want the government or corporations, honestly, to know everything you're doing. It could be the most innocent of things, but you don't want that information about you out there. Few people know that a considerable chunk of that market, including 3 of the 6 most popular VPNs, is quietly operated by an Israeli-owned company with close connections to that country's national security state, including the elite Unit 8200 and Dovdevan units of the IDF. Unit 8200, for example, has been the source of much of the world's most infamous spying software, including Celebrite and Pegasus, the program used to snoop on tens of thousands of the world's top politicians and journalists, including by Saudi Arabia, who used it to help track down and kill Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Given this context, justifiable fears arise that control over a vast VPN empire could add to Israel's influence over the online information and security world, creating backdoors for Israeli intelligence to carry out a vast compromat operation on users around the globe. So part of this story is also, do you trust? Let me ask you guys this. Do you trust Israel and the IDF to create VPNs that actually cover up your identity and actually make sure that even the IDF and Israel are unable to follow what you're doing online? Or do you think that just maybe they're using these VPNs to spy on people who think they're not being spied on? The name of the company is Cape Technologies. It's a major player in the online privacy world, one of the 3 giants that collectively control the entire VPN market. It owns many of the world's top VPNs, including For those of you who have VPNs, you might want to listen to this, including ExpressVPN, which is one of the biggest ones, CyberGhost, Private Internet Access, ZenMate, Intego Antivirus, and a host of tech websites that promote its products. Cape Brands can be seen sponsoring a wide array of public figures. You ready for this? Including Tucker Carlson, Angry Video Game Nerd, Drew Gooden, Lex Friedman, Cody Ko, Uncle Roger, and I know this is going to shock all of you, Ben Shapiro. VPN stands for Virtual Private Network and is a service that claims to protect your anonymity online. It's supposed to scramble the information so that others can't spy on it. It's the owner of this Cape Technologies is Teddy Sagi, born in Tel Aviv, the tycoon who previously spent time in prison for financial crimes. Just to add insult to injury. Oh, my VPN's controlled by the IDF. Oh, that's IDF affiliated groups. That's a problem. Oh, also spent time in prison for financial crimes. He's estimated to be worth $6.4 billion, making him among the top 10 richest Israelis. Sagi has a long history of working closely with the IDF and is rumored to be extremely close to Israeli intelligence. In 2019, he donated $3 million to fund hundreds of academic scholarships for Israeli soldiers. It's a debt of honor for us and for me personally to express gratitude and appreciation that all of Israel's citizens owe to you, he said to the IDF. Before 2018, this gets even more interesting, Cape Technologies was known as Crossrider and was often considered a malware company, like a criminal software company. Crossrider was a platform that allowed its clients to monetize their software by forcing ads in front of users' eyes. Users' computers, both PC and Mac, had their browsers hijacked. I don't know if you've ever had this happen to you, but it happens more often on PCs. But you try and go online, and all of a sudden things are popping up all over. Ads are popping up all over. Nothing you've clicked on, nothing you've searched for. It's just taken over your computer. And that's what it's done. It's taken over your computer. In 2017, Crossrider, Cape, they changed their name, by the way, to from Crossrider to Cape Technologies or whatever. So it is the same company. They've just shifted focus. They purchased their first VPN in 2017, CyberGhost, for $10 million. Then went on a shopping spree, buying up ZenMate in 2018, Private Internet Access 2019, and ExpressVPN in 2021 for almost $1 billion. So ExpressVPN was the biggest purchase. Daniel Garricky, ExpressVPN's chief technology officer from 2019 to 2023. That's his name, Daniel Garricky. A Reuters investigation series revealed that Garricky was a key member of a team of spies that hacked the devices of human rights activists, journalists, and government officials, stealing their data and passing it on to the government of the UAE. The UAE used this data to track down dissidents and torture them, according to the Reuters investigation. So that's what it's being used for. And it's horrific and horrifying to find out this is connected to Israel, or that Israel's in control of this. Because how much would you trust this? How much would you trust Israel to have control of your VPN that you think is making it possible for you to surf the internet without being tracked? Let me know if you would trust this. Because I don't think so. And anyway, great article by Alan McLeod. If you guys want to look up on that, look up all the details of that. He's also a veteran, the CEO Ido Ehrlichman, the CEO of CAPE, between 2016 and 2023. So the last CEO was a veteran of an Israeli commando unit. And as George Carlin said, if it's Israel, it's called a commando. If it's Arab, it's called a terrorist. So, but there's a whole lot more to this that you can read over on Mint Press. Mint Press doing great work. Alan McLeod, as always, doing wonderful work. And I hope you will check out that article. Let me check in on some of your comments real quick. Thank you, Dominic, for the donation. Yes. Question for Julian. How much has Chris Hedges influenced your political views? Love the Rolling Stone interview you did with Chris. Yeah, Julian did some awesome interviews with cool people, including Chris Hedges, among others. Thank you, Dominic, for the donation, supporting the show. T. Rowell just became a new member. Thank you for that over on YouTube. Kelly wants to know, can an IDF-owned VPN explode your computer? That's a good question. I do not think that's possible. But it is good. It is a good question to ask. Are they capable of exploding your computer? Really appreciate that. Let's see. Henry says, Israel, AIPAC, and all political lobbyists need to be removed permanently. Al Shu says, do you believe Israel? How can anyone have faith in the most pitiful criminals in history, supported by the slimy scumbags in Washington? Ben A says, these VPN companies will give you info in a second if agencies ask them to. Yeah, we'll give up your info. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Dan, for recommending everybody throw in a super chat. Really appreciate it. Iowa Blackbird says, guess when it goes to Israel, it goes to U.S. Intel and U.S. Big Tech as well. I'm sure it does. Let's see. Alex says people can implement their own VPN with open source technology. I did not know that you could create your own VPN. I mean, I assume pretty impressive people probably could, but I don't know that. I don't know if I could create my own VPN, but fair point. Sebastian says Joe Rogan is advertising for ExpressVPN. I was unaware of that. Yeah, people have talked about how Joe Rogan, he champions free speech a lot. He talks about it a lot. But not only is he doing ads for ExpressVPN, but he also, and kind of more importantly, because if someone does ads, he probably has never looked up into what ExpressVPN, who it was owned by, or what, or the fact that it's connected to Israel at all. But more troublesome is his comedy club in Austin, Texas, is very anti-free speech. I mean, not that you should be able to like destroy a comedian's routine, but they take all of your cell phones and they lock them up in bags. And then they also scan your, I think it's facial scan. Yeah, I think it's facial scan. They scan your face as you're coming in and compare it to a database they have to see if they have kicked you out before, I think is what they're comparing it to. But this does not sound like a we're going to let you be free kind of outfit as far as I'm concerned. Thank you, Tony, for the donation. Solidarity. Okay. Julian should be here in a few minutes, but maybe I'll get on to another story for the moment. He's running a couple minutes late, but he should be here soon. The FBI is illegally interrogating people for social media posts, which also speaks to the VPN thing. I feel like some people are using VPNs to try and not get interrogated by the FBI. The FBI has been illegally interrogating people about social media posts critical of Israel. And there is this is coming from Care National, CAIR National, and there's a page you can go to know your rights, which I'm not going to go through all of them. But basically, the FBI has been showing up at people's houses and interrogating them, usually for Palestine, pro-Palestine posts. I think it's been mostly Arab and Muslim Americans. But it's, horrific nonetheless, whether it impacts you or not. I know some people might go, well, I'm white, so it doesn't matter. But obviously it's horrifying no matter what. And here is CARE's website, which tells you to know your rights. And it's got different rights. You can download different guides on knowing your rights. So it's like know your rights while protesting, knowing your rights against law enforcement, know your rights as an employee, know your rights while traveling, know your rights as a student. So it's got a bunch of different efforts to have you to get you to know your rights, which they often don't. The cops often don't care whether you have a right or not. Like, I have friends, and I've been with them. I've been part of these groups that have done the projecting. When you project massive protest images on the sides of buildings. I've been with them, and sometimes cops will come on and be like, you can't do that. And you're like, oh yeah? Why can't I do that? And you go, well, because vandalism. And you're like, it's light. It's not vandalism. Nothing is harmed in this building. And then they have no reason, but they'll usually they won't arrest anyone. Usually they'll say, well, you wrap it up because things. So cops don't really know what your rights are or care usually. They just will often arrest you anyway. Okay, I think Julian is here. So let's do it. Let's see here. Oh, hold on. There was something I wanted to have that ready. Okay. Anyway, everybody click thumbs up, click share. Let's get into it. And I'll try and get to a couple of your questions as well. But many of you know and love this man. He is the founding frontman of the Voidz and the Strokes. And the Voidz have an awesome new album out. And please welcome Julian Casablancas. Hello. Peace, my friend. Oh, nice. The balloons. You were the first person to ever successfully emoji my show. How you doing, man?
That was okay. It was an accident, but I liked it.
Was it really?
Yeah. God was telling us, good job, boy.
That this is a good idea. Well, people are already would like you to know they like the blonde hair.
Oh, thanks.
Where are you now? Is this a studio? I don't think I've seen this one.
Yeah, we're just rehearsing, so we're kind of, we have like fun props. So I thought I'd use the props, or maybe I should say I'm in my underground lair on the planet Titan.
Oh, Titan, that's a good choice. Is that that's frozen, correct?
Well, it's nice underground.
Oh, okay.
Fuzzy down here.
It's good underground. Well, people are very excited to hear from you. I'm excited to have you here. It's good to talk to you again. I'm loving the new album, Like All Before You. Do you like the new album?
Oh, yeah. Yes, very. I think yeah, my mom likes it, which is actually usually a bad sign, but
have there been albums in your past where she was like, this one's not for me?
No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. It's just that thing where you want to be like edgier than
Oh yeah,
understand it, you know what I mean?
My parents are supportive in that they're like, good job, but they don't understand my politics anymore.
Didn't you say your dad still reads the New York Times?
Oh yeah, still in the New York Times. Absolutely. Oh, they did an attack piece on the front page of the art section against me.
Man,
Still
I'm such a fan of your show, man. Thanks for having me. This is my favorite show. I mean, the only news show that Rad Indie Media, I kind of like, and your clips come up all the time. So I'm always seeing you and hearing you and learning from you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. For those wondering, I'm playing the video to Flexorcist on the side panel there. In case people are wondering why there's a devil walking through the screen.
Mac DeMarco.
Yeah. Excellent video, excellent song. Did you guys clearly had fun filming that?
Yeah. Well, the filming is always fun and is quick and fun, and the editing process is kind of long and painful.
Does it feel the same for music?
Similar with music. Those first moments are super fun, and then hearing it.
And then that fades.
Yeah.
Are you getting ready to? I haven't looked at your schedule. I guess you guys are playing shows, right?
Yeah, we're playing LA on the 16th tomorrow, and New York on the 18th and 21st.
Nice, exciting. I went to a Voidz show. God, was it a year? Yeah, it was a year ago. In New York, and had a great time. It was like Halloween or the day after or something. Highly recommend. I give it a highly recommend. But so I am more of a lyrics guy than I think some people, or maybe a lot of people. I love a lot of your lyrics, and they're some of them are just awesome. Some of them are funny. Some of them are darkly comedic. In When Will the Time of These Bastards End, you say, who's to say who should live, who should die, who's to surely not just you powder-wigged swine. You should send your own young, stop sending mine. First Amendment and freedom, they say, while our best men are jailed, silenced, or dead. Was there, when you were writing those, was there, like, were you thinking about specific things, or is it more just the general kind of endless war?
I guess I don't know. I was trying, we talk about politics and in a lot of songs, it kind of comes out in subtle ways. And so I was just like, let me just try to be as specific as I can be right now. And yeah, I mean, I guess I'm thinking of, the known, Edward Snowden, I guess, and, Assange and I mean, there's such a long list. I'm sure you can probably rattle them off way better than me. So yeah, I mean, I learned it from watching you, Dad, and so yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, I guess we're doing an interview, so I'm supposed to. You're setting me up. I'm rusty. I've been at home. This is the first live interview, I guess. No, I did a radio thing. Anywho, I think that
that's not true. I watched you doing an interview about this album. What was it, Apple Music or something?
Yeah, right. But I mean, I guess I always want to talk about the things that you're talking about. But as you know, those forums, it's a fine line. I'm trying to help the record so we can kind of spread the gospel.
I get it maybe more than a lot of people realize, because my live streams have become largely not comedy. I mean, I am funny at times, but they're largely not comedy. But obviously my foundation, and 25 years of my life is just comedy, but it was comedy with a message. But then it becomes more and more tricky to get that message in there, still be comedic, and play to sometimes people that aren't going to agree to you. And can you make them all laugh? And, or at least a lot of them. I don't need to make them all laugh, and so it becomes this kind of tightrope act. And I imagine some of that's similar with music. I guess with music, unlike comedy, you can cover it up more if you want to. But is that something you like with the lyrics? I guess especially, is that something you're like, this is a little too on the nose? Or?
No, not really. I mean, with the music, not really. you're just trying to make it, I guess, as universal as you can, like if it can be specific and universal. But I'm more talking about interviews, really, because if you really want to go on and talk about the true, they just kind of cut you off. I mean, I was even watching like an interview with Ta-Nehisi Coates, and he was, I'm sure you've seen, I probably saw it on Reddit in media.
Oh, the Good Morning America or something.
I don't know. There was that guy, the kind of liberal guy with the glasses guy, and they seemed like they were maybe friends. I don't know. They were just kind of talking. And then when Israel came up, he was like, so what was it like? Because he kind of went and he talks about how he like saw both sides, and he learned and he realized quickly what it was and stuff. But this guy was just like, so what was it like kind of getting such a one-sided perspective when you were like, kind of like, already?
Yeah, I mean, it might not be the same interview, but in the one that went kind of viral for how this guy treated him, he said, your book would fit perfectly in an extremist backpack. And how does it feel knowing that? It basically said, how does it feel knowing the terrorists would love this book? Like, it was the most garbage question.
I saw that guy, the guy with the black hair, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, your book would go, that's kind of high praise, though. It's like Malcolm X, MLK. I don't think the interviewers, if you watch old clips, they all said the same things. This was so funny.
Yeah, and so you've experienced that where you start to get into the real shit, and then they're kind of like, okay, let's move away from that.
I know, but I will say though, I was thinking, trying to be positive, because we always talk about how there's kind of no one. There's like a handful, you, Chris Hedges, and whatever. There's a lot, but also, in terms of mainstream, there's zero. So I would say, even though I think there's so few people talking about it with this kind of platform, I think there's a lot of people watching still in the shadows, and who kind of get it. I think it's definitely not, again, a mainstream voting block at the moment, but I think it's more than just the people talking about it. I think a lot, so I think you're doing a great job doing it and I think you do make it funny. I think you do the perfect amount. So I always laugh and cry when I watch your shows.
I really appreciate that, man. Yeah, I think, one of the places you can see, there's certain places you can see that whether it's still this two-party system or not, you can see people are waking up. The new acceptance and understanding of that this is a genocide in Gaza is one of the big areas. But also the number of independents in this country, like it's way above the number of people that consider themselves either Democrat or Republican nowadays. So I think that's been a big shift. Like, people are waking up.
Yeah. I'm amazed that people can still like the two parties, and I think what's interesting is that, so people kind of softly all accept that, the military and some, combination of secret bad guys kind of decide policy, and it's not the public. So they kind of understand that. They understand the government and all that is kind of has these like secret motives. But what puzzles me is that they can't understand that the mainstream media is like a complete like hand-in-hand partner with that. And they act like, well, they can still like watch CNN, Fox, and kind of to like, criticize them or talk about them. But it's such a joke. It's so insane. And that's the part that when you bring that up, people are like, oh no, that's too far. Now you're talking crazy talk. But if you really kind of factually analyze it, it's the only kind of sane thing that really adds up. And because people are always like, it's so weird, it's too overwhelming, it's too confusing. Like, not really. If you kind of analyze, there's I think, and also just to say the other side in case, because I'm always imagining from all sides. I think it would be great to have a world with big companies and trusted big corporate media companies even. I just think, you know, it has to somehow be filtered through kind of deception proof system. You know, I think deception is the modern kind of plague of the time. I think that when societies went from tribal societies to large societies, deception became much easier. I think that's like the main flaw with society, and I think it's just now it's at an all-time high in terms of the mask falling off. It's been like that forever. So there's never been democracy. There's never been like a deception democracy, and so I think, and everyone agrees with that. Everyone wants that. So it's not even a radical. So I always want to like take it back to like a simple place, because I know everyone kind of agrees. And, you know, you talk about something like Palestine, it's so kind of, you know, politicians, they get like, you know, they drop like flies, because obviously we have like a lobbying system that gets you elected. So you can't go against, you know, it's same if you go against any big company. So it's such a divisive issue, and it's like I'd almost rather, can we take it back to things that we all agree on? Because if we got to the point where you couldn't deceive, then issues like Palestine wouldn't even be complicated.
I think that's a great point, that there's certain, to try and get more people to unite in these causes, you find the kind of core thing that people will can all get behind, whether you're, you know, doesn't matter what your politics on any specific topic is. And so those core things would be like democracy, would be like truth.
Well, democracy is such a dead word. It's like capitalism. It can mean anything. I mean, we almost need like a, you know, weird new vocabulary or something. But it's not about like a cheesy, like, let's all unite. It's not even about that, I think.
No, I want to let's all unite so we can guillotine people. So,
but the thing is, we tried that. It didn't work. I think it should be the same kind of process where it's like, oh, these are the bad people, but instead of chopping their heads off, I think we've talked about it last time. They're not allowed to be, you know, own newspapers or be in politics. And right now, those are the only people who own newspapers and are in politics.
Yeah, I'm okay with that, I guess, if we have to keep the guillotine in the museum. All right. No, but these are great points. What were you saying?
No, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's not just about kumbaya. It's about, I meant uniting, because that's where the power is. It's like, as long as they can keep us divided amongst 17,000 other topics. Oh, you know, you disagree with me on this one thing out of 1,000 topics. You're dead to me. As long as they can keep that going, there's not going to be any fear of the fact that the people could rise up or demand anything. You know, there's no leverage.
Yeah, it's basic strategy that's been used since probably, you know, the beginning of societies. I mean, all, you know, countries are trying to get people to fight against each other so they can, like, you know, defeat them. And you can't think that the same people who are deploying those strategies aren't doing them politically to us. I think that's very naive. And it's just, you know, it's not that we're flawed. It's just how we're evolved. We believe what we hear because it wasn't that complicated in the, you know, 100,000 years ago or something. It was more like, you know, there's a tiger or a lion right there. You know, we must, you know, like when you said something,
read all about it.
It was direct. And so deception is kind of like a new thing in terms of how it can be used on a big scale. And I think, you know, with, you know, a lot of like Freudian studies and a lot of the, like the advertising studies and all that, you know, like Nazis were kind of pioneers, I guess. I just think all those things are being, are happening right now. And a lot of people just kind of still naively believe the thing that they hear that's put in front of their face. It's like, well, it's Yankees against Red Sox, guys. Like, what are you going to do? It's like, I don't know. Like, and, you know, in terms of Democrat, Republican, and it's just so beyond what real people care about, I think, and, or I mean, would care about in a vacuum. And I think even talking to conservative people, you know, just kind of I think everyone would be psyched if there was, less deception in all, media and politics.
Yeah, I'd love to get there. Do you find it frustrating that there aren't more musicians, more maybe artists in general that, but I guess we'll stick with music, that I don't know, are talking about real issues like this, either in their music or outside their music? There are some, but I find that with most of them, it's kind of like a push comes to shove, and one day they say, "Oh, I'm against war," or something. Like it's sheepish and it's small and it's because I know you had an interview several years ago where you uh, some people got very excited, other people got very offended that you said that they're like good good music is not really what's promoted anymore. Like,
Um, I the truth is, again, the overarching magic wand solution to me is not that complicated in terms of, you know, the things you would need to do. Like, politicians would have to take a vow of poverty, and, you'd need like labeling on media and maybe some kind of jury court system for like to decide what's like BS and not. No, bribing, maybe lobbying had to be like a public thing where you can like talk to your politician, but you can't just like give them money for who knows what. So there's all these kind of things that I think, in a way, when you break it down, but I do think to get there, you have to dig through so much conditioning that I don't blame people. I think if everyone kind of grew up understanding, I mean, I didn't grow up understanding it took me a long time to kind of, I was like, what? I didn't understand. I keep reading and looking and thinking. And I would say, yeah, you want to motivate people to kind of self-learn and find the truth on their own and dig deeper than, the surface. But I can't blame people for being bombarded, from a very, very young age. Well, this is how it is, and then you kind of just that builds your life and your structure, and you want to be generally accepted by people to be happy.
yeah, it's indoctrination. There's an epic book on this called The Lottery of Birth. Yeah. I think by Raul Martinez, I think, but yeah, exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, so it's not, I think once people see it clearly, I think they do stuff about it. And but it's just so few kind of get there, because it's kind of you kind of have to crawl through the insect hole of the Temple of Doom to get there.
Well said. I don't want to use up all your time, and I want to throw in one or two questions here from commenters that have been very excited about this interview. So I'll give you two of their questions, and you can decide which to answer or answer neither. But Doug wants to know what your best advice is for musicians starting out. I'm sure you've never gotten that one. But and then Dan is pleading with you to play Human Sadness at the live show, I think in New York, but maybe LA. I don't know.
Okay, I will register Dan's wish.
Register the request.
I will bring it to the Council of Elders. Yeah, I mean, I think music, creative endeavors. I think you need to it's gonna be a long journey. If you're just doing it for fun, that's cool, no pressure. But if you kind of want to make things that other people will like and all that, I think it will be, you have to kind of bear down and enjoy all of the kind of work you got to put in. So even like the scales or exercises or music theory or practicing or whatever it is that you're doing, you just have to almost enjoy those things with the kind of inherent satisfaction you'll get of kind of being good at the end. So if you can be excited about those things and work at them for a long time, I think whether you'll be successful or not, who knows? But if you're gonna, you could be good enough to be, I think, happy on one level, or at least make a living on somewhere doing it if you dedicated enough. I don't know.
No, I think that's great advice, because some of it, I've had different successful moments in my comedy career, but one of the most important things I did, or decisions I made, was that I was going to start putting up, they were like 5 minutes initially, but 5-minute comedic political pieces on YouTube on a regular basis. And I was making a living as a comedian, but I was not well known or anything. And I just decided I was going to do it no matter how many people were watching, because it was what I wanted to do, and I had a passion for it. And so I just started doing it. And obviously at first, for several weeks, it's tiny number of view count. But it didn't really matter to me, because I was doing what I was passionate about. And I think if you're in that place, then it's kind of like you win even if you lose. I mean, even if at the end of the day, you don't get 1 billion views, you've done the thing you're passionate about. You've done something that you view as important. It's existentialism. You've figured out your purpose. So
it's a good question. It's like, would you rather be, we were talking about it the other day, would you rather go through your whole life thinking you were amazing and basking in this glory, but everyone thought you sucked, or your whole life being miserable because you thought everyone hated you, and then you're dead and you never realized that people thought you were awesome? It's like, I don't know, maybe A. Or maybe it's also related, sorry if I'm rambling, to
you're not
another kind of interesting thoughts maybe that I was having, or I was thinking about ignorance, when people talk about ignorance is bliss and all this, because I always had a problem with that. I always thought that was kind of weird. And I think in your own bubble, it's like a kind of a selfish, lucky, or like, if you have that, it's nice for you, but it can indirectly harm. It does indirectly harm others often. So it's almost like it's like a societal responsibility to not be ignorant. But I think, ignorance is bliss. So it's almost, again, another random indoctrination, like one of 100 I was talking about, where it's just like, I don't know if that's, I think ignorance is societally very dangerous, maybe, to like people outside of your bubble.
Oh, absolutely. It's I guess the motto is kind of like, oh, just live your own life and don't care what's happening around you. But then of course you end up with the world burning down around you while you sit in your hammock. So it doesn't really end well, I don't think.
Well, what kind of hammock we talking about?
I know there's a nice soft hammocks, and then there's the kind of wiry ones that leave marks on your ass, and it's just not good. Yeah. I know you got to get back to rehearsing for these epic shows. So I hope you have a great tour of great shows coming up, and love the album. The new album is Like All Before You by the Voidz. For those of you who are new to the Voidz, I hope you will definitely check them out and enjoy all of their music. And solidarity, man. I really enjoy this. Come back on anytime. Anytime you're bored and you want to rant.
Keep up the great work, and I feel like I should promote you too. I mean, you guys should. Rad Indie Media. People always ask, they're like, what news do you watch? And I'm like, and I send them a link, and it's like, it's kind of, I don't know if they probably look at it once or something. It's like, no, just like,
just no.
It's a collection of like the 10 places that kind of report independently. So y'all should check it out.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, radindiemedia.com was created by me and Eleanor Goldfield. And it's like, there's no money in it. We just put it up to make it a place that people could get a lot of cool news. And unfortunately, it hasn't taken off, and I don't have a lot of time for it. But I still love the concept. I still love the idea that there's these, it's Mint Press and Gray Zone and all these at one site. So,
Well, I go to it all the time, so hopefully just hang in there, man. Sometimes things take a while, take some time. Please don't shut it down.
Okay, deal. Thanks again, man, and I will see you down the road as we keep running around the countries in the world.
Thanks, Lee. Good luck and stay safe out there. I'm worried for you. Your brand of, good luck, man. I don't know.
I appreciate that, man. I'm not worried for my safety. Just worried for whether I'll have any platforms left soon.
I know. It's wild.
Thank you, man. See you soon.
I guess, yeah, I was specifically probably talking about you with that line with the First Amendment.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man.
All right.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. the balloons just went by again. All right, thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. So great to talk to him again. And for those of you who didn't catch it, there's a new album called Like All Before You by the Voidz. They have several albums out. I have opened for them on multiple occasions. It's been a great time doing that. I did it in Texas and Los Angeles, and a lot of fun, even if music shows don't always gel with comedy shows. So it's a bit of an odd match there, but I still love doing it. But for those of you new to my stuff, I live stream 4 days a week. So this is day 2 of the week. I have a separate show, Government Secrets, on Wednesdays, but then I will be back Thursday and Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. I have a brand new podcast that and by the way, we reached the goal on the podcast for the number of ratings I was hoping for on Spotify. We got to above 50. We are now at 56. So now I'm going to get greedy. And I'm going to say, let's get to 100 ratings on Spotify. I don't know that we can do it because I know, people are lazy. I'm lazy too. I get it. But if it's free to listen. So even if you don't rate it, I would love for you to check out. It's called Just Comedy. You probably have to search for Just Comedy with Lee Camp to try and find it. But it's also on my Linktree. If you go to linktree.com/Lee Camp, you can get it there. And it is up on Spotify. It's up on all your podcast platforms. And it's just my comedy segment. So if you're looking for a laugh, but also important topics, this latest episode was about the dark history of Elon Musk and his many lies, and the dark history of one of the largest, it's actually the largest private company in the United States. Its name is Cargill. You might have heard of it. And all of that is on the new pod. I'll probably put up another episode soon. Another programming note. I've gotten from some criticism from someone who shall remain nameless that I don't warn viewers about scheduling changes and stuff. I don't know. Some of the time I do, but October 27th, I will leave for my trip to Tibet to film a kind of comedy doc series there. And I will not be able to do live streams for roughly 3 weeks. However, I am hoping to get a bunch of videos uploaded while I'm there. So it doesn't mean I'll just be gone, but it does mean that I won't have the live streams. Hopefully Eleanor might be able to do a live stream or two while I'm gone as well. And anyway, you have fair warning now. You have fair warning now. Thank you, Yolanda. Yolanda says she loved the Just Comedy podcast. Yeah, also the reviews as in the comments about the Just Comedy podcast have been awesome. And it actually, I know some people think like when you're putting out a bunch of stuff, it doesn't matter what these comments are, but it matters a lot to me because it's a new project. And if everybody hated it or didn't find it useful, I wouldn't keep doing it. So the fact that most people have been saying big fans of the Just Comedy podcast, it makes a difference and it's awesome. Okay. I think that's all the stuff I'm promoting. I will see you tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And I love y'all. And I will also see you tomorrow for Government Secrets at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. And keep fighting.
Well, brother, I salute you, though, man. You're one of the few that bring together this tremendous artistic talent and still be in such deep solidarity with oppressed people.
It's an honor to be here because I'll tell you, Lee, you have one of the funniest shows on television, bar none.
It's an enormous pleasure to be here. While I was waiting, I was leafing through your wonderful book.
The same to you. I love your show. Be happy to come back anytime.
Lee, this is one of the great honors of my long career, just to be in the same earth with you.
I'm sure.
We're just so blinded. We have so many blinders on because our society doesn't want us to know things. And so it takes shows like your show, and
it is clearly designed to eradicate.
Hey, good to see you.
Hey, Jill, how are you? Julian, thanks for joining me. Honor to have you, brother.
Consumerism is a theory that people should behave this way to help each other. It's not.
Mr. George Galloway, thank you so much for joining me in these dark times.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you so much, Lee, for having me on. Keep fighting. Ha ha.